Hey, Shalom, Shalom, Akim, your brother Raza Allah from GMS London Camp. First and foremost, we give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Shalom to the hopeful and sincere elect, Bachoya Kodash. That's the holy elect in and around the four winds of the earth, Baha Aratazah, man. Shalom. Just a quick one regarding these celebrations over there in the Lord's land, the Holy Land, the land of Israel. In particular, in Jerusalem right now, you got three different religions, man, which you can call pagan, you know, except for the Passover. But you got the heathen that are keeping the Passover in the Lord's land, which, they're keeping it unworthily because they're not the children of the Lord. Talking about these small hat rats that go around calling themselves the JJs, as they like to call themselves, but they're really, the sons of Amalek, Edomites from the nation of Edom, the Esau, the man that was spawned from the loins of Isaac and Rebecca, two brothers that came out of the womb of Rebecca. It was Jacob and Esau. Esau was the eldest brother, but he came out looking red and ruddy, or red like a hairy garment, representing that he had a lack of melanin in his skin, whereas his brother Jacob, who represents the 12 tribes of Israel, came out with melanin, looking like everyone else that was on the planet at that time, because the men had a darker hue, different shades of brown, and Esau Edom's, the anomaly on the earth of the people that only look like so-called white people, as they call themselves today, that have a lack of melanin, man. They have them recessive genes, but yet and still they're going around parading themselves like they're the chosen people of the Lord. And you got a bunch of heathens in the land, the Lord's land, the Idumeans, which is the Greek way of saying Edom, celebrating the Passover. At the same time, you got a bunch of pagan Christians. That's why the topic of the pagan Christianity is coming up for the apostles and elders as of late, of Great Millstone, man. They're going into it, and how all that religion, or the religion of so-called Christianity, is straight up paganism, man. And all that false idol worship and what they stand for, so to speak, in that religion is all pagan. It goes back to all pagan idols and false gods of the ancient world, man, namely Babylonian. And then you got, another a pagan religion called Islam, which I call Fizlam. You got a bunch of guys, at the Dome of the Rock, in the Lord's land, Mecca, so to speak, parading themselves like they're the holy chosen people of the Lord, when they're a bunch of heathens too. See, that just proves what? That this land, this world is under a mist of mass confusion right now. All these world religions, these man-made religions, they're all vain, man, and they're all man-made, and it's not the truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and the ones that are supposed to be keeping these laws predominantly are you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But we've been exiled from the Holy Land because we broke the law, statutes, and judgments of the Lord, our power, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and so he cast us out, and we discontinue from our heritage to this day. You only got the remnant, the elect, that have woken up to the fact that they're the true Israelites and coming back to their heritage, so to speak. And is coming back, standing up, from being in that dead state, the dry bones in the valley, coming back to their, to their nationality, and I'm pushing this word, man, starting from the apostles and elders of Great Millstone around the four winds of this earth. So I just wanted to read a little bit of this article here, and then one or two precepts, man. But this just shows you that this world is under a midst of mass confusion, man, because you got all these false religions and they're all celebrating in the Lord's land. It don't make no damn sense, man, because there's only one true doctrine, and that's under the Hebrew Israelites, the Lord's statutes and judgments of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, that's supposed to rule the whole earth. All these man-made religions, man, and false forms of worship. It says many people will be celebrating religious holidays this weekend, as a rare crossover of Easter, Passover, and Ramadan will occur, which only happens about every 30 years. Christians worldwide will be celebrating the Holy Week, including Palm Sunday, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and Easter Sunday, which is going off, man, which is all going back to what pagan worship. Like Apostle the Taha was going into, from Good Friday to the Easter Sunday. That's only like 48 hours in pursuit of the lunar. If you follow the lunar calendar cycle, that's only 48 hours. That's not even 3 days. Which the Lord was risen up on the fourth day, which they try to say the Lord was, crucified on the Good Friday, which that's BS. And then the rest of the pagan worship that they follow in that religion, like Easter, which goes back to the Ishtar, you know, falls back to Queen of Heaven, Babylonian worship, the fertility goddess or whatever you want to call it, which has got nothing to do with the birth of our Lord or the crucifixion of our Lord, man. It's all pagan worship, sun worship, man. Even at Christmas, December the 25th, when they say the Lord was, born on the 25th of December, that goes back to, Babylonian worship, sun worship, sun god and all that. When you check it out, when you go into that history. So it's all pagan, man. And all these religions, it's funny that all these man-made religions, especially, pagan Christianity and Islam, come out of what? The Roman Catholic Church, man. Which that's a hypocrisy in itself. Roman Catholic Church, the Catholicism and all that. That's one of the biggest hypocrisies of so-called religion on the face of the earth. That's known as one of the filthy frogs in Revelations, the 16th chapter, which the Lord said He's going to dismantle and burn, man, because it's a false religion, So then you got Passover to begin on Wednesday, and the Jews, which these Jews that they're talking about are not the Jews of the Jews of the Bible, but from the 12 tribes of Israel. They're talking about Amalek, the Edomites. It says Passover began on Wednesday, and the Jews are celebrating the biblical story of the mass exodus from the slavery of Egypt and their protection. And the people that was delivered from Egypt didn't look like so-called white people, man. They were people of color. They're not those small hat rats that are running around today feigning the word of the Lord. Those are not the people of the Lord, man, that are wailing at the wall and all that. Those are not the people of the Lord. They're imposters, man. It says they're supernatural and divine protection during that time. It says Muslims are observing Ramadan, a holy month focused on fasting, prayer, reflection. And they're doing all this in the Lord's land, man. This just shows you there's bare confusion. Bare confusion because of these man-made religions, these false religions, man. And these devils don't even adhere to the scriptures, man. Talking about 10 Commandments bill, identity politics, says experts. These devils don't even obtain to the scriptures, man. They follow their own so-called code and credence, man. Unrighteous decrees. Why? Because they're the devil, man, and they fail to follow instruction like it tells you in the book of Psalms, man. Why thou takest the word of the Lord into thy mouth? Because when you hate instruction, and you're a bunch of hypocrites, man. Because you devils, these so-called white people ain't God-fearing Christians, man. They're really the sons and daughters of the spiritual demon Satan, on the left-hand side. Because that's who they truly worship. They come in the spirit and the power of Satan, man. They don't come in the spirit and the power of the God of the Bible. Yahweh Bar Hashem, Yahweh Shai, in the ancient Hebrew tongue. So it's all lies, man. It's all about paganism and this folly. It says Lamentations 1:10. It says the adversary have spread out his hand all upon all her pleasant things. It says, for she have seen that the heathen entered into her sanctuary. It says, whom thou didst command that they should not enter into thy congregation. Yeah. So these heathens have taken the Lord's pleasant things, man, to themselves. Because Jake, we went off. We started worshipping these false gods and idols, following the way of the heathen, which the Lord commanded us not to do. And so one of the punishments is that the Lord kicked us out of the Holy Land and put a bunch of heathens in that land, man. And that's where you get, the religion of Islam. Because, during the 6th century AD, during like the Byzantine Empire that ran about the time, that's when Islam was created from the Roman Catholic Church. And these damn heathens, these Arabs, the Ishmaelites, was going into the Lord's land, and they built the Dome of the Rock and all that stuff, man, a place of worship. They took the land for themselves, and then even through that, years of going back and forth, that's where you get the Crusades from, man. There's a whole bunch of different Crusades that was fought in the Dark Ages during the Byzantine Empire between Jake and the Arabs, because the Arabs was trying to take over the Holy Land. Well, basically they took the land, and Jake was trying to get it back from them heathens, man, because they thought that Islam, religion, was actually authentic. And that Muhammad was actually a chosen man of the Lord. But that Muhammad was just a heathen. He was not a chosen man of the Lord, because all the chosen people of the Lord, all the prophets of the Lord, came out of the nation of Israel. They didn't come out of Ishmael, man. So these heathens, these Arabs, took that false religion, Islam, to heart, man. And to this day, they're willing to die for that shit, man. And that even goes back to the point that Ishmael is a wild man. In the scriptures prophesied that Ishmael will be a wild man. So they're willing to go all out lengths and die for that false religion called Islam, because they actually think it's real. But that's nothing but another form of false worship, idol worship, worshipping of the moon, the crescent moon and all that. So it's another false idol, and even Jake's into that, that Islam religion as well. So it's another man-made religion. It's another lie. Pagan worship, man. But Christianity is the main one. That pagan Christianity that's got Jake bemused, man. Goes back to slavery, and even before that, man. Because you had Serapis Christus, back in the ancient world, that Jake was bowing down to. That was the ancient way of ancient form of Cesare Borgia that they're worshipping today. So that these false religions have always been around, man. Especially that pagan Christianity. So Jeremiah 10:1, it says, "Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel." So this is concerning Israel and their doings, right? It says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." Yeah, learn not the way of the heathen. Don't follow their ways, man. Stop worshipping their false gods and idols, and all these different things, man. And then it goes down into the custom of the Christmas tree, man, which goes back to what? Babylonian worship, the birth of Nimrod, and Nimrod and all that, man. Semiramis and Tammuz and Nimrod, man, being birthed in that tree. It's a form of idol worship, paganism. When you check out that history, man, so the Lord's not with no Christianity, pagan Christianity, man, or plantation Christianity, where they celebrate Easter. When Easter's not in the scriptures, man, that was added in the book of Acts, the 12th chapter. The word there for Easter should be Pesach. And the only people that are supposed to keep the Pesach is the children of Israel. That's a solemn assembly of the Israelites, man. But you got these lost souls out here, bunch of heathens in the Lord's land, celebrating some damn Easter, man. Some fertility worship. They'd rather worship the creation rather than the Creator. Turn the words of the Lord into a lie. Like it's in the book of Romans, the 1st chapter. So let me just. So I ain't gonna read on for too much longer. But this is Amos 5:21. It says, I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Yeah, because these feast days that these heathens are keeping, are not to the true power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man, the God of the Hebrew Israelites, the God of the Bible. It's to all these pagan false idols, man. And 2/3 are part of that as well. In that pagan Christianity, that's what they're doing. So the Lord said He despises your feast days, and He will not smell in your solemn assemblies, namely particular Easter, because that's not a solemn assembly of the Lord. It's supposed to be the Passover, Pesach. But even with that, you got the heathen that's in the Lord's land keeping the Passover, while these other lost heathens are keeping Ramadan and Easter at the same time. That just shows you, as I said, how it's just pure confusion going on right here with these man-made religions, because none of them have the truth. It says, though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them, neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. It says, take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy vows. Yeah, the Lord's not hearing, the prayers, so-called prayers of them heathens up in the Lord's land, trying to keep the so-called Passover or Easter and all that madness, man. The Lord's not going to hear their cries, man, because they're a bunch of heathens. You know, they're not the people of the Lord. Majority of the people that's there. It says, but let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as the mighty stream. It says, have you offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? It says, but ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, which is talking about who? Molech is another false deity that our people worship out here. You know, the great owl. You know, and that's who they're truly worshiping when they celebrate these pagan festivities that they're celebrating, man. It's really they're celebrating the tabernacles of Molech, man, and chewing your images. It says the star of your God. It says which ye made to yourselves. Yeah. It says all man-made false worship. You know, it's not they're not reverent. They're not the reverent. Celebrating the God of the Bible, man. They're celebrating these false idols, and the Lord said He's a jealous power, man. So, but ye have borne, you mean you created and carried the tabernacle of your Moloch, and and chewing. You know, when you go into that word chewing and all that, it talks about the false pillars of that they used to make those to build sacrifices to them false images that they resurrected, man. It says chewing your images. It says and the star of your God, so which ye have made to yourselves. Yeah, because the Lord said the gods of the other nations are, basically false idols. They don't speak, neither do they hear. They're man-made. It says, therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts. So that's why, the children of Israel, two-thirds of our people went into many different captivities, man, because we kept doing this, these going off and worshipping these other nations and their false idols, their false gods. Especially the nigger woman, man. And the grove worship, the harlot houses and all that. That's what our people was into, man. So this is why the Lord's, got peed off with us in the first place and kicked us out of the Lord's land, the Holy Land. And now you got a bunch of heathens parading the land like it's theirs, causing nothing but confusion. Ezekiel 36. I'll start from 2. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bar Hashem Yahweh Shai, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Yeah. So you got a bunch of heathens in the Lord's land, namely particularly the Edomites, man. They're calling themselves small hat rats. And it's like you're calling themselves the JJs, which really they're a bunch of small hat rats, imposters, And then you got another half of them, which are Edomites basically in other nations, going under that pagan Christianity, worshipping Easter and all that, the festivities of Easter and all this BS, man, and Christmas and all that. Those are not the people of the Lord, man. They stole the Lord's land, they took it in for their possession. And then you also got a bunch of Arabs over there, which go back to Ishmael, celebrating some damn Fizlam, man, the Dome of the Rock, which that's a standard graven image that the Lord's gonna hit with a missile, man. West Bank or wherever that place, that damn Dome of the Rock is, the Lord gonna hit that place with a missile, because the Lord's not down with no Fizlam, man. The Lord didn't give the children of Israel Islam to worship. So therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord, power, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye may be as a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of the talkers, says, and are the infamy of the people. Yeah, we're the ones that's downtrodden and spoken bad of, called nigger spits and wetbacks, but we're the true people of the Lord, the infamy of the people, the most hated, in society. But we're the true people of the Lord, and we're coming back to that our nationality and our heritage, man, and having the name of our power, which is Yahweh Bar Hashem Yahweh Shai. And Esau knows this because you got the wicked elite. They see the camps and brothers waking up around the four winds of the earth. But we're still the infamy of the people. It says, therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bar Hashem Yahweh Shai, to the mountains and to the hills and to the rivers and to the valleys, to the desolate waste, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. It said, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea. Because who's in the land of Israel right now, keeping the Passover, so-called, which they call Easter? Idumeans, man. These small hat rats. They're mainly the ones that stolen the Lord's land, as well as the Arabs. That's why you got the Palestinians going back and forth with the Israelis, man. Two different heathen nations in the Lord's land. That's why even Gamal Nasser said there will never be peace in that land, because, you know, the Israelites left so-called black and came back as white people, man. So-called white people. So he knew that the true inhabitants of that land was different shades of brown, so-called dark melanated peoples. They weren't so-called white people as they are today. And Ishmael is definitely not, has no credence to that land. You know, the Arabs, so to speak, as they call themselves today, with that Mecca, the Dome of the Rock bullshit that's going on over there, man. They ain't got no credence to that land as well, either. No covenants with the Lord. You know, so they're both going to get smoted out of that land, man. So it said, I've spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession. Yeah. So that's why there's constant conflict and wars going on over there, because you got a bunch of heathens that's taken the Lord's land into their possession. It says, with the joy of the all their heart, which with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Yeah. So that land is being defiled right now by the heathen, man. That's why they got all these three different festivities, so to speak, except for the Passover. But they got the heathen that's keeping it in the Lord's land, not even the true people of the Lord. Easter and Ramadan, that shit, that's confusion, man. The Lord ain't dealing with none of that shit, man. Pagan Christianity, man. You know? So, you know. Yeah, so verse 7, it says, therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bar Hashem Yahweh, I have lifted up mine hand. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. So the Lord's going to deal with these devils very soon, man. He's going to deal with these heathens. That's why there's constant conflict over there in the Middle East, namely particularly Israel and those roundabout countries, man, the Levant. Because the Lord's about to bring Third World War over there to the Middle East. And Israel's going to get hit with all kinds of missiles, man. The Dome of the Rock, all of that, you know. The Iron Dome, the defense, the missile systems and all that shit's going to get destroyed, man, by way of nuclear fire. And America, Babylon the Great, that's going to get wasted as well, too. You know, because all these world religions really started from, you know, the Renaissance period and all that, going back to, the Catholicism and that, the RCC, which came over to the New World by way of the so-called white man, when he pushed that false image of Cesare Borgia as the Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai, who they ignorantly called JC. So the RCC is definitely going to get destroyed. You know, Roman Catholic Church and all them, denominations and doctrines that came out of that, including Islam and that pagan Christianity, man. That's all going to get doused in the lake of fire. Actually, let me just get that real quick. Close out. Then I gave the additional commitment to the Unionists, and this is where David Trimble, did exercise real leadership. I mean, he sold that commitment to his delegation. David came into the room, and there was a lot of tension. He stood up on the chair. Yep, free unclean beasts, or free unclean spirits, like should I say? Yeah, and the Roman Catholic Church is one of them. A few minutes before 5 o'clock in the afternoon, David Trimble called me, and yes, I remember his exact words. He said, "We're ready to do the business." I just want to get the main point. If he could be available for a meeting immediately at 5 p.m., he said, "I'll be there." I called all the other parties. Let's see if I can get this real quick. It's lucky I can. Just 1 second. Had a great sigh of relief when we saw Sinn Féin and then David coming in. I'm not sure if that was exactly the way it was, but they were the last
two big ones of glass to come in. And we thought, yes, this has happened.
The two governments and the political parties of Northern Ireland have reached agreement.
This was one of those very few moments.
There's a particular word I'm looking for. I can't seem to see it at this moment in time, but
There weren't many of those, I can tell you.
And I had made a point of saying to the women, we'd better hold back the tears, because they would say, oh, well, then the women started crying. But actually, as I pushed back my chair, I looked up and the men were crying.
However, for unionists, the mood was
2 seconds, Salakia, Akim, 1 sec. Yeah, Salakia, this is the final precept anyway here regarding the false prophet, which is one of the filthy frogs. It spoke about in Revelation 16, it's Revelations 20 and 10. It says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, just talking about that nuclear holocaust that's going to happen in the near coming future. You know, the devil talking about the Edomites, the so-called white man, and his establishment, this Edomite empire is going to be doused in that lake of fire, namely America, Babylon the Great. It says where the beast and the false prophet are. Yeah, the false prophet represents who? The Roman Catholic Church, and their doctrine that they brought over to the New World, man. That's going to be destroyed by way of that nuclear fire. So Islam and pagan Christianity, that's part of that false prophet, man. They're going to be destroyed too. It says, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever, meaning they're going to, that smoke is going to be smoldering for a long time, because all these false religions, all these world religions, so to speak, they're all going to be torn down, first and foremost by the word that we're speaking right now through Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and then by the brightness of the Lord's coming, because the Lord said he's going to destroy all their graven and standing images as well, in the book of Micah, So these devils, they're free, man. The old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, these devils are free. These Edomites, all their lies, the strong philosophies, the strong drink that they use to bewitch the nations. Because he even says in the same chapter that they used that to deceive the nations when he was loose from his prison, so to speak, from the Renaissance period. He was let loose to deceive the nations once again. Deceive the nations, man. But now the Lord said he's going to rule for a short time, and then after that, which is his time is up right now, that he was going to go into perdition, man. And America is definitely going into perdition. We can see it, plain as day, as we speaking right now. The whole system, the whole American empire is falling apart from the hinges, man. Inside out. So the Lord's doing his will, man, and that's what it's all about. So these heathens are going to get blown out of that land as well, man. That land's going to go back to the children of Israel, which is you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, starting with the elect, So we just got to watch this space, stay hopeful. But we're in that time, man, the last days of the end of this Edomite empire, man, the end of the Idumean, so to speak. So anyway, with that, I'm going to close out, give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rechachodash, and Shalom to the hopeful and sincere elect.